One thumb drive, and nothing else. It's a thumb drive, all right? So, Marlon, could you let me start? Okay. So, to prepare for this, what we have is a two-monitor setup. So Marlon doesn't have to keep turning our set around, but everything that happens on this monitor will show up there, right? So, first thing, we're going to have to put the USB into the machine. All right, so Marlon, take it away.
Basically, as James said, why don't we take a look at the files that we extracted yesterday from the transparency server. What are the files that we got from the transparency server? In here we have several files. Some of them, the ones that end with SH, and what are known as scripts. Basically, a set of instructions that the operating system will understand and will execute in order to have an output, okay? In here, the files that say zip.hash and only zip, those are the results files that were given to the political parties and the watchers of the service. They are two files, no? So inside these files, we will have two more files, which are one for the results and one which is the hash of those results. One thing that is very important for all of us to keep in mind, okay? We're talking about hash codes, but everybody is relating these hash codes to the applications, to the DCNs, and so on. We all heard about the source code review, we all heard about the software certification, and we know about the hash codes of those applications. These hash codes that are mentioned in here have nothing to do with those hash codes, okay? Very important to keep that in mind. Hash codes are something very common used in the IT industry in order to validate the integrity of a file or any object. So it's not only when we talk about hash files or hash codes, we're talking about the source code or we're talking about the applications of the election, okay? Hash codes are used for everything, okay? Now, having said that, what is it that happened in here? We have one script, which is this getResults.sh. This script basically took the information from the transparency server and prepared the package for the different political parties, okay, and the watchers there as top parties. So, what we have in here, what we will see is how the file was generated, okay, and how the contents of the files were put into the compressed file, and how we were computing the hash file, the hash codes for each of the files. Okay? So we're going to be opening this one in an editor, so we can look at it. So in here, basically, what we have are some variables that we use for the creation of the script, just the name, the date, so we can always have the same information. In here, we have, for instance, the date. We will always use the date at the moment that the script is generated or when the script is launched. So we will have that timestamp in all the files that are going to be created. No? So basically what we do is create the connection to the application. And here is what happens. We have the connection to create the results file. In here, we put information, we execute this file, and we put the results in a file that is called file name, which is this variable here, right? Results.mle 2016 underscore the date of the execution. So that is why, if we take a look at the files that we have here, we will see results, MLE, results underscore NME 2016 underscore a timestamp. Okay? So they were receiving one file initially every 10 minutes, then it was every 15 minutes, then every 20 minutes, till now that is every hour. Why was the frequency being changed? because the volume of information was increasing, generating the file took longer, we were not receiving so many results, and the hard disks were getting full for all the workstations of the watchers. So it was agreed to, little by little, just decrease the frequency, you will still receive the results, and you can always compare to the previous files that you were receiving, okay? So going back to the script, once we have the results file, which is basically a text file, what happened? When we generated the file initially, we had, let me open, can you please? Okay, it's going to take a while to open. As you can see, the file is 1.3 gigabytes. So since it is so big, we have to compress it in order to make it more manageable for everybody. Since we know that you guys have to give the results in real time to the different networks, if we give you a file that is 1.3 gigs, it's going to take long for you to copy it to a pen drive, it's going to take long for you to upload it to the servers and process it. So if we compress it, it's going to be faster. So when we have information inside the file, the problem that we had was that there was an encoding issue changing the any or doing the interpretation of the letter any with a question mark. That is something very common. Any IT expert can attest to this one. When you have a file system that is, for instance, in English, English doesn't have the any as a character, right? So how would the operating system understand the any as a question mark? Any person in the IT industry will tell you, yeah, it has happened to me because of the encoding of the file system. So what did we do? There is a simple instruction that replaces in a file every instance of a question mark by an any. This is, since we're using Linux as the operating system, there is a Linux functionality that allows us to do so, which is this functionality in here. Basically, what does it do? I will translate it to you. The command is set. Anybody can look it up on the internet. You can Google it. Linux set. How does it work? What does it do? It replaces patterns in a file by another pattern. In this case, we're saying the set command, okay, do the substitution of the character question mark with any. And the file that we're using is the file that we recently generated, okay? So what happened here? We are changing all the question marks, making it look like an any. So when you take a look at the file, you will have the names correctly spelled. So it's not going to look ugly when you take a look at the file, no? Because when you are taking, Osmania, instead of seeing Osmania, you're seeing Osman question mark A. It doesn't look good, right? So it's better to make it look right. So the problem is that when we were doing the change, this changing of the any was done before, after we computed the hash of the file, okay? So as we all know, what is the hash of a file? It is basically the summary of the file. If you do something to the file, the hash value will change. That is why the hash is what we use to validate the integrity of a file, right? So unfortunately, when we did the change, we did that right after we computed the hash. So by replacing the any and the question mark, it was changing the hash code. Afterwards, this was corrected. The step to replace the any was done prior to the hash, and the issue was corrected. At any point in time, regardless of the change of the any or not, anybody can take any of the results files provided at any point in time to all the political parties. All the political parties have access to these files. They were giving a file every 10, 15, 20, 45 minutes. You can take any printed copy or any ER nationwide. You can take a look at the results that are posted in the website. You can take a look at the results that are in the statement of votes, in the COCs, everywhere. There was no result change, okay? It's very important to keep that in mind. Only the any was replacing the question mark. All the votes for candidate A were still there. All the votes for candidate B, all the contests, everything remained the same. Nothing was altered. There was no change in timestamps. There was no change in the amount of votes. There was no change in anything else. Okay? Only replacing the question mark for the any. The only command was this one. So I invite anybody to just Google it out. You will see that this functionality only does the replacement of the question mark for the any, and that is all what happened. Okay?
How big is the file? How big is this file?
The script, the script is very small. It's gonna be a couple of kilobytes only. 2.1 kilobytes.
Are you going to release this so that you can also look at the script?
Yeah.
I have to ask you.
Yeah, remember that at the end of the day, all the information belongs to Comelec. We cannot simply divulge any information. You need to get...
I'll ask you to do.
Okay?
You said you generated the hash before you put in the correction, right?
Correct.
Don't you have a change management procedure for this one?
Yeah, there is. But the thing is, when we did the change, we tested it. It's working. Okay. There were many things going on. We were monitoring the platform. And when we implemented that change, just to give you an idea, we implemented the change, but the error in the procedure was only noticed 24 hours after. That is when we were notified by one of the watchers, I think it was Rappler, not a representative from Rappler, who says, hey, there is another Rappler was the one who told us about the ending, and one of the political parties came out and said, hey, there's a problem with the hash, 24 hours later. So if we failed on this one, also the political parties failed on validating that because it should have been noticed on the first moment. When we provided these files, we told them, we're giving you the hash files so you can validate it.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking about the procedure. So
Yeah.
what's your procedure when you change something? And we'll give you the authority to change, to alter the code.
Okay. There are many questions going around here. I know that you guys are looking for what happened here, who is the culprit here, okay? Basically, what happened is, we were notified about that one, and we said, okay, this is a cosmetic issue that we're having in the file that is being provided to the political parties and the watchers. So, since it was a minor change, as you can see, it's just only changing the any for the question mark, so it doesn't require to go up to the chairman. Sir, I'm going to replace the any for the question mark or to the commissioners. So, from the engineering standpoint, I'm coming here as an engineer because what we do is we strive for perfection here. So we need to have a product that is going to be a high quality product, a high quality deliverable. So if you see that you're having that, don't complain.
But it's already a production system. It's already a production system. Then why did you change it without asking Comelec?
No, the thing is, we're not saying, yes, sir? If you guys are aware of this one, there is already a letter that was written by one representative from PPCRB, actually, Dr. William Yu.
Dr. William Yu.
And he's already explaining, even though there is a change in the hash code, if you return the changes, replacing the any now back to the question mark, the hash codes will match. So meaning to say that if there was exactly.
So I understand that, but I think I'm not a techie person, Marlon, you know that. I'm here to try to understand the procedure because I guess there's some concern if there is if the protocols are not well established, a cosmetic change, if a cosmetic change could be made, then perhaps other changes could also be made. And I think it's very understandable if all the organizations here are very vigilant about that.
Sure.
So I just wanted to understand, so before any changes made, 2 passwords are required.
Yeah.
Smartmatic and Comelec.
Correct.
And when each of these changes were made, there was a Comelec password used.
Correct.